Hi, everyone, and welcome back. I'm going to keep it seasonal and talk about what's been coming up for me in this winter period of time. I don't know if you guys all know this, but my birthday is December 5th. And for me, I always have felt time, even before my awakening, as this circle. So the way that always felt the circle was spring, summer were like the lower parts of the circle. And then as we came up, autumn, winter is always at the top for me. And then it kind of goes back down. So when I think of time in a year period, this is how I've always envisioned it. So for me, the top of the circle is this period that we're in right now. Since my awakening, I actually started doing yearly spreads on my birthday. And the card that I pulled for this period or this month is from the Wild Unknown Tarot. And it's the Six of Cups, which is memories, childhood, and joy. A card of beautiful implications. The Six of Cups focuses on the magic and innocence of childhood, and the roots of the years past are alight with color and vibrancy. Look back upon them. Get lost in your memories. Old friends may surface and seek you out. All reunions will be joyful. Enjoy simple pleasures and wonder in all the areas of your life. So I pulled that card on December 5th, and one of my best friends from when I lived in Europe and was still studying, she and her family were coming to stay with us for 15 days. And I took that card as now is the time to be present, have fun. We planned 4 days up in LA to go to the theme parks, really be present. They have a 6-year-old son and enjoy the time together. So, as I was contemplating this and realizing that time is a circle and I'm just in it, I'm just in that spiral dance, I'm at the height of that experience, which happens to be my birthday falls on Ophiuchus, which if you understand astrology and you've gotten to the point of the spiral, you'll understand that everything kind of is spiraling because of the precession of equinox. We're spiraling towards the galactic center, and that direction is Ophiuchus. For me personally, I have had a lot of more interesting downloads during this period. I've had huge leaps happen throughout this period. I've always felt that they coincided because of my solar return. But also, the further I've gotten on my journey, I realized that it's also a combination of this time, which aligns with the winter solstice. And the energies of this time have the potential to be expansive. Now, if you are resisting change, it will also feel like chaos and uncomfortable, because basically we are in alignment with that rotation. We're no longer in the illusion of the other parts of the year, where we have more, I mean, illusion is not really the right word, but more veils. That's how I would describe it. There's more veils throughout the year, where when you come around to this point, it's like the veils are very transparent and you can get a much clearer read on your ascension. So I went into this period of the year with an open heart, excited to have friends in town, and let's play. And I was met with a lot of interesting things that expanded me in a way that I need expanding. Which, if you think about this, my life, we have no children. There are no children in our immediate surrounding friends or family. And so we are never really around children. So my friends come and they have a 6-year-old. And he's a beautiful child, a super old soul, and amazing. But having nonstop time with this energy, it was like so confronting in so many ways for both Richard and I. And I know it was poking at the areas that we both need to grow. So what I realized fairly early on was that in order for us to expand to hold this space for 15 days, we were learning or training with the energy of holding our house, our land, our lives open to others. And in a joyful way, like not in a way that feels like, oh, I'm introverted and I can't hold it. Or in Richard's case, it would probably be like he's very introverted as well. So he likes his alone time. And this last 15 days really pushed those points in both of us. And I know why. I only have one friend in my experience that has a child that could do this. So my friend came, we met in Italy. I think it was 25 years ago or something. We lived in Milan together and we studied together. And then we moved to London together. So we had a very close relationship. And we lived in the same room for a while there together. And so we really got to know each other's idiosyncrasies and tune into, this is again before my opening, but now I know, we were able to really get to know each other. And I know she's part of my soul family now. So it makes sense that in the soul life, we chose this time to come in as a contract point. We haven't seen each other in maybe 5 years. The last 10 years we've kept in touch more than we had after I moved away from Europe, but we have seen each other every 5 years since then. And what I'm noticing is that these points come in because each of us are ready for that activation from each other. I always say this too, the closer people are to you, the harder the lessons are because it's so intertwined and it feels like you don't even sometimes see their reflections because it's too close, you're like, oh, that's their stuff. Or, you want to immediately push it away. But there are these few people that can come and dance with you when you need the activation. So she knew that I was ready to receive this energy of her child. And we have met her son before, but he was only one. So, he wasn't nothing like he is today. But she unconsciously knew that she was coming to help level me up in my understanding of compassion, not being non-judgment. That was non-judging. That was a big thing that came up, the thread that came up for releasing in this time period. And also sharing myself from my authentic core in a way that is relatable to the people that are closest in my sphere. So, and even though she is on her own spiritual journey, we don't speak the same language and we're kind of on different paths. So how can we each show up and hold space for each other, either consciously or unconsciously? And man, it was a good experience, good learning, good lessons. And what's interesting is that finally, halfway, maybe more than halfway through, God, it was almost near the end of her trip, we finally broke through to this point of where she called my stuff out and was like, sometimes I feel like you're judgmental about the way that you say things. And even if my heart is not meaning to be in a judgment, it doesn't matter. The way that it's perceived by the people that I love, that's the key. So I really had to sit with myself and sit with that idea of, okay, here's someone that I actually really love. I love having around. We're more sisters than friends. And she's showing and reflecting to me that I have some rough points, and can I sit with that and hear it and try to embody it in the most gracious way. And it took me, I remember in the moment I thanked her, but then I sat with it for a few days and I went back to her and brought it up again and said, I needed you. You're in my sphere, but you're far enough away that know that we planned this, like that you would be the one to point this out in me and I would be able to hear it. Because in the past, Richard and my mom have both said that the way that I speak about ascension can sound like it's better than, or that whether, there's a zillion things that you start doing differently when you are on this path. And then when I talk about them to other people that aren't necessarily there, it can come across as judgmental on what they're doing. And I have to remember that even if in my heart that's not the intention, right? That is what they're hearing, right? Because let's say some of them are still really holding that third dimensional reality. And it's a separation versus like a unity expression. Yeah. So anyways, she was the right person to point this out in me, far enough away, but close enough that I would allow her and her family to stay with us for 15 days so that we could build up this trust in each other to kind of really poke at those areas that needed expression. So yeah, that's a big lesson that I learned. And in her, she was working through, a lot of fear, judgment in her own way as well. And like finding a lot of women hold so much tension around trying to be perfect and hold the whole story or the whole program together on their own. And this woman in my life is like a super entrepreneur. She's started so many businesses. She's the most creative person that I know. She has studied everything under the sun. She speaks 3 languages. She is a powerhouse. But with that comes this energy of needing to have control over everything that is controllable, whether if it's what you feed your kid, I don't know, how you do the laundry or how you cook food, and then it starts to ripple out into like, how can I like stop unforeseen challenges ahead by controlling what my husband's allowed to do, for example. And so she was riding that pretty high. And it was like, kind of like, for me, felt like kind of opening it up over a period of time that didn't feel invasive to where she wanted to shut down. And, I want to say firstly that even though we had a couple of moments that felt a little sticky, she didn't shut down. And it actually fully came to this place of open and I think being receptive to what I was here to help them with on the way back from LA after being up, at the theme parks for 4 days. We were beat down. I mean, it had rained and we were like, the whole drill, like standing in line for hours and hours and hours and having the best time, but also like getting so frustrated. Each person had their popping points along the journey. So on the way home, it's like torrential rains coming down. And we decided to leave that night instead of staying an extra night because we just at that point wanted to get home after 4 days. So I was like, it's okay, I'll drive. As long as I have my glasses, I know it's raining, but I can do it. Well, as we think it's going to just be drizzling, I'm talking like monsoon rain coming down on the freeway. I couldn't see, like I'm driving, I think like 45 and it's like so hard that I can't even see out of the window sometimes. So in this like tension, it meant, their son fell asleep and so it was the 3 of us. And in this tension, because we're all on high alert, like trying to get home, we were able to open up because our focus was on something of survival where our hearts were able to open. And in that 2.5, 3 hours, we had the deepest conversations that we had up to that point. And it was like understanding that I could see why they had come and why they wanted to stay for this long period. And I explained more about what I do and why I'm here to hold space for people and why this land is so important. And like, I'm just going on and kind of tying it back to the understanding of this person in my life who carries different conditioning than I do. She was raised in Brazil and carries a whole different set of belief structures, but also fear structures. And rightly so. I realize that maybe when we look at other people, understanding that they're not coming from the same reality that you or me or whoever had, no one's coming from the same experience. But when I could see that her sense of control was around the things that she has no control over, it helped me like ease into it in a new way, which helped to ignite something in her, which in this conversation in the car, I could feel it starting to penetrate, where like the first 5 days it was like, nope, we're good, we don't need, and then it just started dropping in and really like becoming clear that I needed to experience them not just as my friends, but as I would experience any of you coming to my house in an AFG gathering. The more open that I could be for this loved one, the more I realized that this is my training on how I'm going to be able to open up and receive without feeling that need of introversion. And when I got that, then I was like, okay, well then let's go. Let's get in there. And it was like the more open that I could be, the more that the intensity kind of started dissipating in her. Now, her son is a magical creature in his own right. The first time he saw our jacuzzi, he's like, you have hieroglyphs in your jacuzzi. And I was like, I do? He's like, yeah, let me show you. And he's like pointing them out, like here, here, here. Like he knows, like he had just studied all of the hieroglyphs. He knew every letter. And he's like, there's this, there's that. And I'm like, what? And I have some recordings. So if you're on YouTube, I'm going to share. He's like pointing out where he's seeing them. And I am like, I don't see them. I like, draw them for me. Show me where they are. Doesn't matter. Like the whole day we spent looking for these hieroglyphs. I couldn't see them, but I knew that this creature's frequency can. And I was fully present and conscious for this experience. I know this land is protected by a lot of energy, but I haven't had anyone here that can see sigils and symbols or light language. He was the first, but he was seeing it through the lens of hieroglyphs because he had just studied hieroglyphs. And I asked him, have you ever seen these out in the world? And he goes, well, in a book. And I was like, yeah, but I mean like in person. He's like, no, I've never seen those in person. So I think when I understood like that he actually was coming in here as a really high frequency being, I could also have that open up and expand more to understand that our time together was really valuable. And there was this, while we were in LA, he and I shared a bed, and he would have these nightmares, and then he would grab onto me so tight, like, don't let me go. And I realized like, okay, that's all right. Like, we're here. I wasn't able to sleep that night. So I was like, let me just give him my energy and be solid and centered for this. I also knew that I had a tool, of course, I love tools, to give to him, which is this dream spray by Fae Spray. It's called Dream. And this is a offering through my sister Faith. These were, I would say, her prototypes, and I wanted him to experience the energy of the Fae helping him with his dreams. So that was like a tool that I knew we could help him in that way. But then I started to change my experience of explaining to his mom, like, this is what's going on and this is why you guys came. He actually is here to get codes from me. And I know that now, and vice versa, like there's always this energy dance, and I'm always so curious, like, who do you get to play with? Yeah. And they're also going through this huge leap of faith in their own lives. They're moving from Brazil to Australia, and we were like the pit stop in between. And they're literally opening up their lives from leaving a fear kind of contracted reality to an expansion for their son, because they know he's very expanded and needs that stimulation. And it's like, okay, you're moving into this, and here is where you can land to get the boost to go back to your center to move forward. And then I realized, like, all of this is happening under the constellation of Ophiuchus. And well, I'm going to call it Ophiuchus Capricorn, because it does swap over on December 17th. But this time of year, and we know the winter solstice is all about, like, embracing the more centered that you can be, the more you will be able to feel your Christ seed and really ground into, like, it feels like your next I guess I would call it embodiment, because we do these in stages, if you couldn't tell by now. And it's like the more light you're able to hold. So as we were working through those things with my friend and I, come last Friday, which would have been February 22nd, my 9th chakra, holy crap, I woke up, I could not move my neck at all. Like, I had to lift my head with my hand to get it off the pillow. And then I was like, I couldn't bend down. It was in overdrive. So for me, starting on December 22nd, it started dropping in pretty hardcore. I wanted to share some tools should any of you guys be going through this activation of the 9th chakra. I thought mine ignited last August, I think. And I thought I was over the pain part of it, but man, was I wrong. I had to sleep every night with my water bottle on the back of my neck. Like, it hurts like no other. Also, I found this amazing, it's called Relief and Recovery by Sagely Naturals. And it's CBD cream with cooling peppermint. I've tried, because my mom has knee issues, so I've tried her CBD creams that she's purchased in the past, and I never noticed any difference. And I would ask her if they helped at all, and she was like, no. So my friend was having leg issues, and before we went to Disneyland, she's like, I want to find something, see if I can find some cream. So we went to CVS, and we said, like, my friend has leg issues. She has like, wants them to feel calm at night. She's like, there's this cream, I'm going to tell you, it's all sold out, but there's one left. It actually works. And I've seen CBD creams before, but so my friend buys this. The third day up at Disneyland, my feet were throbbing. I was like, can I try that cream you bought? And she's like, sure. I didn't feel my feet the entire day. So then when the 9th chakra started throbbing, I was like, let me have your cream. It totally, like, helps to numb and, like, almost, I would say, like a muscle relaxant, but also a nerve deadening feeling. Like, it just calms things down. That's how I made it through this initiation and opening. It felt like the most light I've ever had move through my body. It's still stiff at night. I still need to have the water bottle, and I'm still using the cream every day, but it's gotten to a lesser potency. So when light drops in, it's going to come through the mouth of God, or that 9th chakra. It's, again, dropping in, because in my case, I had been working through the last little stickiness I had around these things. I shed them before this started dropping in. So think about it this way. There are only certain people that you've incarnated with that have the capability of activating these densities in you, like no one else possibly could. So as I'm saying this, I'm like, I'm not going to say his name, but you guys know who I'm talking about. The more I have I've put out the invitation and I've tried to reconnect, but the more that doesn't happen, I'm sitting here realizing that he's holding activations for me that, well, when he's ready to give them, I'll be ready to hold them and receive them. But in the meantime, my friend, so yes, she was able to just like jack me up in so many different ways. And on like I would have maybe, I don't know, 15 minutes to myself every morning while I was getting ready. And I stumbled across I had remembered like a month or so ago, Gigi Young had mentioned this channel, and it's called on YouTube, it's called Rudolf Steiner Press Audio. And basically this man is reading all the lectures and stuff from Rudolf Steiner. Now, I have wanted to dive into those teachings, but I don't have enough time to read, anyways. This what our YouTube channel, actually he's speaking them, so you can go about your chores and listen. Well, this one came through on Christmas. Sorry, on Christmas, I think so. And it's called Signs and Symbols of the Christmas Festival, and I'm going to share it with you guys below. Definitely worth a listen. It talks all about the coded messages behind Christmas. The other thing that it brought up, and I'm not sure if it's this episode or I started going down the threads of embodying more and more of this energy, is that I can't remember the different culture that it was, but that they would only allow births to happen during this period. So that meant that the couples could only, have sex and procreate at the spring equinox, so that the child would be born in this darkness of the night between Ophiuchus and Capricorn. And this was like felt as if your child wasn't born during this period, it wasn't a good sign. Like any and all children, like they did not have procreation throughout the rest of the year. That means they did not even have sex throughout the rest of the year. They would wait for this one period so that all children were born in these wintering months, this December period. Now he goes on to say, like, he doesn't really understand why, but me intuitively what I feel is that the more open that you can be, number one, in your cosmic blueprint into this energy, the easier it is to feel it, and you have less veilage around it. So eventually we move away from that needing to have children only in this month period. But think about this, the way our collective consciousness has worked with this period is creating a lot of vacation, a lot of family, a lot of joy, because the holidays, and all of that is because if you are in your best state of openness, it's easiest to receive the energy that you are ready to move forward and embody. Now, depending on where you are on your journey, it could just be one little lesson that helps you, relieve, people always say, like, spending time with your family at the holidays is the hardest thing. Yeah, and look at the time of year that they're at. It's because this is like Thanksgiving in the US is like that prep period. It starts poking. It starts like, let's see what we can work with this year. And then come Christmas, it's like, okay, game on. It's time to get in there and work at it. So people will say that this period is the hardest or the most joyous time of the year. Well, do you think that's a coincidence that the cosmos happen to be aligned and the veil the thinnest when we are most concentrated in with that energy? So yeah, that's something I was like, okay, that makes sense. And it makes sense that this, I have these intense connections right now. All I wanted to do was like go into my introverted shell. All the world is asking me to do is to feel into others and like hold space for them. We ended up spending, other than the trip to LA, all of our time here. Like no one wanted to go anywhere. Everyone like wanted to stay. And the days that we wanted to go do something, their son would just cry and be like, I just want to stay here. I want to stay here. So what I know is that I'm being like the training wheels of allowing myself, because it's not about other people. It's about, if you've always felt this like draw to be introverted, how do you flip the switch? How do you go from that like knowing of yourself to this expansion of yourself? It's like going against the grain of everything that you know and hold as secure. And so, yeah, That's what I mean. To open up my house in this first AFG gateway, I think I might have mentioned that the gateways are working with us before. Yeah, I definitely did. They're working with us before we even step into them. Like, usually, I mean, in this case, it's 3 months before. So I know that whatever comes up for me now is my medicine. So I'm like, okay, I see it, I get it, I'm working with it. I am wanting to say to you guys, wherever and whatever you find yourself struggling with, working with, having playful time with, whatever happens from, I'm going to call it like December, my birthday, December 5th, until I would say like January 5th. It's for you, it is for you. So let's try to work out the ego stuff and hold the heart open to receiving all of the gifts that come in the most random and crazy packages. How could I ever have guessed that a 6-year-old child would be like, and for me and Richard, the thing that we wanted most, is my lesson. And I walked away from it knowing I wasn't meant to hold that in this life. But man, thank you for the lessons. Thank you for opening my heart and like finding the consistency to be present at the entire 15 days. I do not know how parents do it. I have such different feelings about AI and being on the iPads than I did before this experience, because when you have a high functioning child, they never stop. Like, he never stopped, not once. And it's gorgeous and beautiful, but it's like, whoa, how you have to completely give up your autonomy and who you think you are to have a child like that. But the other beautiful message I got from my friend is that I told you all of the beautiful things that she does and, all the things she's accomplished in this life. And I got a clear download. She's been preparing to raise him. And it's like, wow, thank you for even just letting me be an eyewitness to this beauty. So no matter what's like triggering those pressure points in you, don't just brush them off. This is the medicine, this is the actual gold as we move through the golden gates, for you to really sit and see those triggers come up in real-time reality. There's so many modalities that we can hypothetically work through this stuff. But when we get to the top of this calendar year, it's like it feels like just an exhale of all the densities that are going to move through you. So I hope this is helpful. I wish you guys the very best calendar new year. And God, I want to also say thank you this year for letting me feel like I can that I can weave in and out as I feel called to. I'm moving through a lot of stuff, a lot of energy, a lot of sickness. I got sick again. I don't know, you can't believe that, but yes, I got sick at Disneyland. And for the first time, I don't feel a pressure to perform or to give updates if I don't have one. I feel like I have the space to tie things together for my own journey, which when it comes time to share that, feels right now. It feels perfect. So I also am wanting to let you know that AFG launched a podcast/YouTube channel. I know a lot of you have asked why I don't interview people, why I don't, share this channel with others. AFG, and the podcast is called I See You, which EYECU. Having this space to contemplate and work out and discuss and with these two individuals, Aisha and Faith, is like my dream come true. It feels so good. And I think we have 4 episodes out right now. The first 3 go through what each word in Aurora Faith Gateway stands for each of us, how we came to that wording. And again, knowing it's all coded, but in the first three, we decode it for you. The fourth one, which is called expression, is about really what AFG means to each of us and what it actually is. So if you're at all curious, please go over to the podcast or on the YouTube channel, and know that we still have a few spots left for our spring equinox gateway. Oh God, the work has already started, as you can see for me, but with all the pearls that have come in already, their journeys have already embarked. So if you're wanting to go into a container that is really going to help hold the space for you to work through, and again, these are pivotal points throughout the year that are helping us spring forward. In the case of spring, it's like a birthing, like all of this part of wintering where we're really hibernating and nurturing and working through our own stuff so that we can come out in spring as this new expression, this metamorphosed caterpillar that is ready to embrace spring. That's what this gateway is about. So please, I would love for you to go and witness the three of us together in magic and enjoy yourself, because it's a beautiful dance.